Hey, it's Dave Chapin. Welcome to the Wolf Sports YouTube channel. What a week one that was of the 2025 NFL season. This video is going to be somewhat of a rewind, taking you back to around this time last week when people were getting their fantasy football draft grades. Especially if you had a bad grade, maybe started 0-1, you might want to watch this video.
You just spent 2 hours on your fantasy draft. You feel incredible about your team, and then you see it. ESPN or Yahoo gives you a D+ grade for your draft. Your season is over before it even started. Or is it? This week's video is a quick one, hopefully alleviating any of you that have concerns about bad draft grades you got for your fantasy squad. So don't overreact, but this focuses on draft grades in fantasy football and why a low grade might actually be the best sign that you're on your way to a championship. Last week in the heat of draft season, we posted a meme about this on Instagram that got over 1 million views. So I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. Speaks to the truth of it. First, here's the meme real quick. And hundreds of comments are agreeing. Hundreds of likes on these comments. Somebody saying it's true. AA+ means you're destined for failure. One commenter called it the inverse Kramer of the fantasy world, which I thought was great. Someone said they got an A+ last year, projected to lose just 2 games, had their worst season ever, and they're so excited they got a D rating this year. Someone else said they got an A+ 3 straight years, finished at the bottom in all of those years. Someone said, facts, I got an A+ grade and was devastated. So pretty funny stuff. Every year I've gotten A or better, I've missed the playoffs. And a couple of comments, which sort of the point of this video, said the bad grades just mean you didn't agree with the so-called expert rankings, which is actually a good sign. And sometimes A+ grades, like some people have shared, loaded teams with A+ and definitely deserved it, and I would think they're going to be in the fantasy playoffs. Anyway, very low grades actually means your team is probably good. It's because it's a flawed foundation that these grades are built on. The analyst rankings it's been proven not that accurate, and this just shows it. The low draft grades doing good, high draft grades sometimes doing bad. Just as a historical example that's been vindicated for several years now, if you drafted Derrick Henry in the first round or early in the second round even on, let's say, ESPN over the past handful of years, according to their expert draft rankings, that would be considered a reach and it would harm your draft grade. And if you take that and amplify it throughout the entire draft, when the rankings might be a bit off, it leads to these grades and the system being out of whack. And not only the comments from this meme showing how true this is, whether it's friends or fantasy consigliere members that'll draft guys we like or use our rankings, right after the draft, they get a bad grade. And I'll just say it, most people that sign up for a fantasy consigliere, they are likely in the playoffs because they get an advantage from the rankings. But that's just been our experience. And based on the response to this meme, it's been the experience of many. And this happens across all platforms because there's a lot of groupthink in fantasy rankings. People don't stray too far from the consensus. If you think about it, who are these people determining the draft rankings that determine the draft grades? They do it full time, get paid, sure, but that really doesn't mean much. And I'm not just saying they all don't know what they're talking about or anything like that, but have they given a reason for you to trust these rankings? If you watch every game or as many games as you can, there's a chance they don't know more than you do. So if a letter grade for your fantasy football draft is useless, how should you really feel about your team? Our number one indicator is just betting on the talent. You need some luck, some things to go your way. But if you bet on talent, a good tiebreaker when you're stuck between players is a good offense, or the better offense going with that player. But if you target talent, approach it like sort of a real scout, not just looking at the numbers and stuff or following the rankings by the book of the general consensus, you should be in good shape. And the experience of people, which pretty overwhelming evidence, sort of an indictment on the mainstream fantasy rankings. Not saying you gotta follow Wolf Sports rankings or anything like that, but we strongly advise not to follow the big site rankings and actually just use them to your advantage. So next time you see a D+ grade, don't get angry. It probably means you're smarter than the group think. Ignore that grade and trust your process. For those of you that got bad grades on our fantasy draft, congratulations, and we hope to see you in the fantasy playoffs later this year.
So it's pretty interesting how things sort of work out the opposite of the draft grades in many cases. For example, the final standings projections, like on ESPN, a lot of times the teams at like 8, 9, 10 will end up being top 4, whatever, in the fantasy playoffs. Have you also found this to be the case where fantasy draft grades are not a good indication of how your team's going to be? If anything, it's a reverse indication. We want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this alleviated some concerns and you haven't subscribed to the channel already, we hope you'll consider doing so. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. We'll be around every week during the NFL season. And if the upcoming weeks in the NFL season are as good as week 1, it should be a fun year. Thank you for watching.